Carrie Fezza here. Welcome back to As Zodiac Buzz, where I've been giving you free astrology lessons, and I've taken you all through the planets, and we've learned how each planet has an energy. Then we applied it to the sun signs, and we learned about each sun sign and how the ruling planet influenced it, and also its modality and its element. Today we're going to put everything together and look at the zodiac as a whole. This is us here on Earth, and this is how the zodiac and the planets work around us and affect us here on Earth. And again, you'll find a beautiful synchronicity and rhythm to the zodiac. So the planets are where we derive the energy. The signs are how we use the energy. And the houses show where we use the energy and how they relate to the signs. So the first house is always Aries. Depending on the time you were born, whatever sign was rising on the eastern horizon, and then there's a different sign every 2 hours, that'll be your rising sign. But no matter what sign you have rising on the first house, it'll always have Aries energy. Because the first house always relates to the sign of Aries, ruled by Mars. And it is the house of self. So when you're first born, you have self-discovery. You're learning about yourself, your body, your personality, your physical appearance. All these things relate to the first house. Now, opposite the first house is Libra, the seventh house. Now, Libra they're both cardinal signs, but Libra is air and Aries is fire. So again, air feeds fire. Your opposite sign is automatically compatible because it shares your modality and they're always complementing elements. So the first house is all about the self. The seventh house, or Libra again, is about partnerships. Remember, it's Venus and air. So there you have your Mars-Venus dynamic again. See how those two work together? And the seventh house is all about partnerships, business or personal. And that's where it brings us to relationships. This is your marriage house. This describes your partner and how the two of you get along. Because whatever is opposite of you is a direct reflection of yourself, which is what we see in our partners, and also our open enemies. The seventh house can represent open enemies. These are people you know you don't like, and they don't like you either. But so it's always about how you relate to others. First house, seventh house dynamic, Aries, Libra. Now the second house is Taurus. Remember, it's Venus and Earth. So it's all about things that give you pleasure, like money, and all the wonderful things money can buy, like your possessions. So the second house, again, is fixed, just like as its opposite sign, the eighth house, which is Scorpio. They're both fixed signs. Taurus is earth, Scorpio is water. Water feeds earth. Where Scorpio is about money and your personal income or finances, Scorpio is about shared income resources, joint finances, investments, inheritances. It's also ruled by Pluto, which is death and rebirth, transformation, the phoenix rising out of the ashes. So this is your house also. This is others. This is how you relate to others physically. So this is your house of sex. Easiest way to remember it, eighth house, sex and death, joint finances. Your money, the money you share. Now the third house is Gemini's house. This describes your immediate environment. It's also your house of communication. Very important, because remember, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. It also describes your neighborhood, though, the people that surround you but aren't in your immediate family. We look to the fourth house for that. So the third house is your cousins, aunts, uncles, brothers, and sisters. It's also transportation, how you get around your neighborhood or around your community. It's local travel. It's also school, but it's early learning. So, and it's opposite the sign of Sagittarius. So again, we have air feeding fire, and they're both mutable signs. If you remember, Sag is ruled by Jupiter, which does things big. So this is your immediate environment, your community, local travel, early learning. The ninth house is long distance travel, or foreign people, places, and things. And so it's also higher learning, like higher education or university. And it's your higher beliefs. It can rule theology and philosophy. And it's also the house that we give rulership of the law, just like Sagittarius. But the seventh house is Libra. So sometimes that can relate to justice, again, fairness and balance. But legal issues is going to be the ninth house. So immediate environment, long distance environment, early learning, beliefs, higher learning, more evolved beliefs. Now the fourth house is the sign of the home and the family. Pretty basic because it's your sign of Cancer, the very domestic, nurturing sign, because it's ruled by the moon. And this dynamic, the fourth house to the 10th house, is just as important as your first house and your seventh house. Remember, this was your rising sign. This is your ascendant, descendant. And then when it's cut this way, it's your, what we call this, the IC or the nadir to the MC, which is the most public point in the chart, and the 10th house, which rules the public self. Where Cancer is the traditional mother who stayed at home, the nurturing house, the house of the home and family, but the lowest point in the chart, the private self. The 10th house is your public self. This is your career. Traditionally, it represented the father because the father was the one that went out into the workplace. So again, you have a cardinal axis and you have water, Cancer water sign, feeding earth. So these signs, again, very compatible. Mother, father, home, and public life, public self, career. The fifth house is given rulership by Leo. Again, it is fixed fire, opposite the sign of Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, which is fixed air. So again, air feeds fire. Leo is our house of romance. It's ruled by the sun. So it's big and fun and friendly. It rules children. So if you're looking for children in a person's chart, you look to the fifth house. Therefore, it governs creativity. It's joy, fun, all things childlike. But it's also the house we look to for love and romance. Libraship is partnerships, long-term commitments, significant others. Leo, the fifth house, is romance, where we're going out, we're having fun, we're dating. And it's opposite the sign, again, of Aquarius, which is friendships. So these are our lovers, these are our friends. Aquarius rules groups of people. Again, it's right next to your public self. So this is how you interact with your coworkers or your friends. It's also the house of hopes and wishes. So it's really nice if your sun lands in there. It's just given a very bright, hopeful, optimistic bent. And don't forget, Uranus is sort of the unexpected or the unconventional. So you never know what you're getting into with a new friendship. Now the sixth house is Virgo's house, ruled again by Mercury, but this is Mercury and Earth. And it's opposite the 12th house of Pisces, which is water. We have the water-earth dynamic and another mutable axis. So this is the routine side of Virgo. The sixth house is our work, where we go to work. Then 10th house is our career. So if your work and your career are one and the same, they balance out. But let's say you're a waitress who is trying out to be an actor. The acting would be the career, the waitressing would be your job. It also describes your health and your daily routine. So if you're looking for health in the chart, you look to the sixth house. Because remember, Virgo rules the intestines and is health conscious. And work and daily routine, like going to the gym, doing a workout or exercise program, that's all sixth house energy. Now Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac. Remember, where Aries is the baby, concerned about discovering the self. Pisces is your old soul. So the 12th house is where we come to rest, Rest, relax, repeat. This is where we store our memories of all the previous houses. This is where we go to for our dreams. It's also where we keep our secrets. The 12th house is hidden. Don't forget, Pisces is ruled by Neptune with the veil over her. So there's always something veiled about the 12th house. It's our psychic space, again, where our dreams come from, where we store all that stuff in our subconscious. That is 12th house energy versus the 6th house, which is where we're out and about in our daily routine. So there you go, folks. Now, say you're born a Leo, okay? When you were born, the sun was in Leo. But depending on the time of day, every 2 hours the sun goes over the eastern horizon. A different sign goes over the eastern horizon based on the earth rotating on its axis, just like we have a sun every day and a moon every night. So depending on what time you were born, you're going to have a different rising sign. So your sun, even though it's in Leo, can fall anywhere in any one of the houses of the zodiac depending on the time of birth. So that's 12 different flavors of Leo right there. If you were born with Aries rising, you would have like a chart that works out like the natural zodiac, and your sun would most likely be in the 5th house, which would be at home. But if you had a different sign rising, you could have your sun in the 8th house. So you could be a Leo sun, but in the 8th house, it's going to have a Scorpio flavor, and so on and so forth. And then you have to take into account where the moon was the day that you were born. So you have 12 different flavors of the moon. And you also have 12 different rising signs. So you see how everybody is different. Even if someone's born on the same day as you, they're going to have their planets in the exact same signs, but depending on the time they were born, they can fall into different houses, which is going to give them a different flavor entirely. That's why if you're born on the same day as your best friend, they're going to have a different family dynamic, different neighborhood dynamic, different brother and sister dynamic, different family dynamic. So you take that all into consideration. And that is the beauty of the zodiac. We have the Mars-Venus connection between the 1st and the 7th. And if you remember, the traditional ruler of Scorpio is Mars, so you have the Venus-Mars connection again between Taurus and Scorpio. And another cool thing with the zodiac is if you start with the sun and the moon ruling Cancer and the sun ruling Leo, and go one sign out, both Gemini and Virgo are ruled by Mercury. Then if you go one sign up, Taurus and Libra are ruled by Venus. Then if you go up one more sign, you have 2 signs that are ruled by Mars. Then if you go up to Pisces, one more sign, Sag is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter was Pisces' original ruler. So you have Jupiter. And then we get to Capricorn and Aquarius. The original ruler of Aquarius was Saturn. So you have Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, coming back to the sun and the moon. So there's lots of different ways you can play with it and look at it, and it becomes really fascinating. So if you're interested in having your chart done, or you want me to just print you a chart and you want to analyze it yourself following through with the videos, please reach out to me at azodiacbuzz@gmail.com. Just azodiacbuzz@gmail.com, and I can print your chart up for you and email it to you for $10, or I can go through and do a chart interpretation, and depending on what you want, we can work out a price from there. So thank you for following along with me in this journey through the zodiac. I'll try and keep you updated from time to time with what's going on with the transiting planets. Now, when you were born, the day and time you were born, the planets lock in those signs and houses. But obviously they keep moving around the zodiac, and when they do, that's called the transiting planets. When a transiting planet touches a natal planet, that's when you go through life experiences, either comfortable or uncomfortable. And we can look at the transiting planets on a whole as how they're affecting everybody. And I did one video on that already called The Outer Planets, and sort of a look at the dissension that's going on. I predicted it more happening around the next election, but there's certainly a lot going on around this election, so check it out. The Outer Planets and Mundane Events. And again, thank you for coming along on the ride.